Sundeep, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We're able to squeeze our podcast in very short notice.
Yeah.
We contacted you literally, I don't know, like half an hour. We got
Exactly.
this all confirmed.
I was sitting in a nice Palestinian restaurant eating a lot of Palestinian food for the first time.
Yeah.
And I got your message like, hey, you want to come down for a podcast? I'm like, yeah, sure.
I was very surprised, but very grateful. What did you have? Do you remember?
Oh, shit. It was like a mixed grill.
Okay.
And then the owner of the restaurant came over and he brought like a bunch of other stuff. And he said, everything is on the house. And you have to finish everything or we won't let you leave.
Oh, wow. So really stuffed, huh?
Yeah, really stuffed.
That's right. There's a good preparation for the show tonight.
Oh, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I just hope I won't fall asleep before the show.
Hopefully not. You got viral speaking about the topic of Palestine and Israel and the genocide. It's a very heavy topic for comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to kind of get onto how that came about, but maybe we start at the beginning. You are from India.
I am from India.
Yeah.
Yep.
Born and raised?
Born and raised in India. Yeah. I had never left India until I was 24 years old.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Europe. I lived in Luxembourg. That's where I've been living all this time. And started comedy about 8 to 10 years ago.
Is there anything about the way you were raised that kind of informed the way you see the world today?
Yeah, I think it has to, right? So I think I'd say my parents did a really good job just keeping us out of things like religion, things of, hating certain types of people or certain parts of society, things like that. They were really liberal with us, with me and my two siblings. And we just grew up like normal, logical people. And I think that's kind of what is shaping my outlook on life right now. Just look at things, be like, this doesn't make sense, or yeah, this makes sense.
And growing up, you must have seen some of the strife, that occurred in India, maybe in the 90s. And what was that like for someone who could see through all of the nonsense and all of the prejudice and seeing the people, your countrymen, kind of go through that?
To be honest, I only saw most of it through movies. They made movies about all of these things in India, and I saw it through that lens. And I saw my own parents' reactions to it. And yeah, there are lots of things about India that we were like, this is just shameful stuff that they're doing. There are some really amazing things that they do. But we always had to be like, okay, have a balanced approach. But to be honest, everything was through the lens of Bollywood and how they would present it. Everything is like with a patriotic angle to it. Like we have to protect India and it's always from Pakistan.
Yeah.
So we had that. Of course, they were good and bad on both the sides. And I think they did a fair job with us kids looking at things in that way.
Did you learn about Palestine growing up in India? Was that something that you knew about?
Never
Never
heard of it. I mean, I think that my first understanding of Palestine and Israel was like, oh, it's like India and Pakistan.
Yeah, okay.
That was all most people in India would know. And until last year, when this whole thing started, not last year, but the year before that, October 7th, 2023, I didn't know much about it.
Wow.
So only after that happened, I was like, okay, let's look into this. What's happening? What's all this stuff about? And then I started to really learn what was happening.
What specifically drew your interest?
Hind Rajab.
Okay.
Yeah. The 6-year-old girl shot, 355 times. And that's kind of what it was normal for me that everybody should have the same reaction. Like who the hell is shooting a 6-year-old child 355 times? And I was like, this makes no sense. So I was like, okay, we need to talk about this. And I think everybody should be talking about it. So I was like, okay, I'll do my bit. And I started.
And so you started incorporating things into your comedy routine. And how was your initial reception to?
So initially we set up a comedy show where we gathered all the comedians from Luxembourg and we got them all together and we said, let's do a fundraising event where we'll gather money and we'll send it to Gaza. And so everybody prepared like 5 minutes each. We had like 10, 15 comedians. And we did the show. It was sold out within like a couple of days. So the reaction from the audience was amazing. Everybody turned up. And we saw how important it was for everybody. And all the comedians managed to step up and create those 5 new minutes of material for this topic, which was really amazing. And once we got the money and we tried to send it to Gaza, it was blocked.
Wow.
So that's when we realized that this thing is much more sinister than just talking about like one issue. We're like, we can't even send money to them. So it got blocked. First of all, the ticketing service wouldn't give me the money. It took 2 weeks to get it. And then when I started sending it to Gaza after getting it, it didn't get there. It got sent back to me. It got blocked for a while. So I was like, okay, this is a much, much bigger issue.
And were you sending it to like just people in need, like people
to
who
like
ask
a
you for it, or
charity
charity?
in Gaza.
Okay, charity.
The first time we tried to send it to UNRWA.
To UNRWA.
Yeah, UNRWA. Didn't get there.
The UN organization.
Yes, of course. Hamas. So they were like, you can't send it to Hamas. I'm like, dude, this is the biggest relief organization in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't get there. So all of us kind of realized like how weird this is and that we need to do a lot more. So that's how we started.
Yeah. It's. I mean, you must have come across so much of this, Hasbara. You just mentioned that UNRWA is Hamas. Everyone's Hamas these days. You speak out your Hamas.
Of course.
What's kind of like been the maybe the funniest Hasbara you've come across?
Yeah, everything. At this point, it's like who's worse than Donald Trump? You know, that kind of a competition. You know, it's like everything is Hamas. Amnesty International is Hamas. United Nations, ICJ is Hamas.
Yeah.
It's like a little kid, 5 years old, is Hamas. He doesn't know how to spell Hamas.
Yeah.
Like that guy's Hamas. It's just weird.
It's even got to the stage where I think someone accused Fox News of being Hamas now as well.
Everybody's Hamas. I'm like, at this, it's the same as saying you're anti-Semitic. At this point, it doesn't mean anything. Hamas, anti-Semitism, this, it's just bullshit now. It's like you're just trying to label people as something so that you can invalidate what they're saying. It's as simple as that.
Did you see the new advert that came out, which showed some Israelis hiding the fact that they're Israeli because they're scared of being called out for the genocidal crimes? Have you seen that?
No.
So recently, it was. It's been spreading around on social media. I think it was done by some, I don't know, either an Israeli airline company or something. It shows these 2 Israeli guys and they're in Europe. They're flying around Europe.
Okay.
They're on holiday, and someone asks them where they're from, and they hesitate to say that they're from Israel because there's going to be prejudice against them. And all of these Zionists are sending this around. Oh my God, this is so powerful. It's really, I feel this in my soul.
Yeah.
Oh, we're being, we're being oppressed everywhere we go.
Yeah.
Absolutely no understanding.
Well, I think it's in their nature to be the victim, right? This is their whole game every single time. I find it really hilarious because for me, the picture that I have in mind is them walking up to a little kid, slapping the kid really hard, taking his toy away, and then if the kid fights back, they're like, ah!
That's exactly what they do.
People are attacking us. They're attacking the Jews. Like what? It has nothing to do with the Jews. It's you guys who are making it much worse.
Yeah.
And it's also weird. Like, I can't say that I'm from Israel. First of all, can you be sorry about what you're doing? That I think is a big thing that's missing. Nobody is like even a little bit apologetic about what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, Hamas. Like, dude, if you said sorry, I am not with what the government of Israel is doing, what the IDF is doing, everybody would be okay. Kind of like, okay, fine. Even if you're Israeli, you're not for genocide, it's fine. They don't do that.
Yeah. Even before the ceasefire, there were a bunch of polls. One of them was done. Over 90% of Jewish Israelis supported what Israel was doing. 40%, almost 40%, wanted more. And after the ceasefire, I think there was a poll about if they support Trump's plan to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Over 80% support that plan. And it's just mind-boggling that they can, on the one hand, support the genocide and ethnic cleansing of a people, and on the other hand, call themselves victims and actually believe that they're victims.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to add to that. It is mind-boggling how they're doing it. Because first they go like, it's not genocide. Because if we wanted to, we could have wiped them off in one day. Like, wow. So you're patting yourself on the back for not killing people fast enough. Like, this is amazing. And then they're like, oh, the United States president is already supporting us. So now we can actually say that we want to ethnically cleanse the place because it's not us, it's coming from the United States. So now they're kind of using it as an excuse to bluntly and openly say that they are ethnically cleansing Gaza.
Yeah. And there was another video I saw where some Israelis were being asked out on the streets about how if they agree with what's going on, and the guy asking, he's a Zionist, right? And so he doesn't like Palestinians either, but he tries to paint them in a nice light. He tries to like give them an opportunity to not show them that they are genocidal. He's like, oh, what about the kids? And then it's like, oh, but they're gonna grow up and be Hamas. At every point.
Yeah, I even when they try to do something in a moderate way, the sound bites that they get from people are incredible. You know, because they were talking to somebody who was not an Israeli person, and they were like, would you like to live in Israel? They're like, no, what the fuck? Who wants to live in Israel? I don't support genocide. And they're like, oh, okay, sorry.
It's completely nonsensical. And I'm sure you've seen a video, it was really early, where I think it was an Indian news channel, and the Indian presenter was asking an Israeli representative, and she was wearing green and red.
Yeah, the sari.
Yeah.
It's a very popular color combination in India because it's related to some festivals, you know. And the guy is going like, you're supporting these guys, blue and white will always win.
Yeah.
She's like, shut up.
Yeah. They see the victimization everywhere.
Yeah.
But since you spoke about America and the connection with Israel, that kind of raises the question about the link with empire. And being from India, you've experienced what an empire can do to one's nation. And I think before the British occupation or the British colonization of India, they had over 20% of GDP, of global GDP. Mm-hmm. And then by the end, it was just, it was done. How do you see the connection?
That's how I got started with this whole thing, because that was the starting point. I was like, people always ask me, why are you in this whole Palestine thing? You're Indian. India supports Israel, kind of. That's the narrative, right? Most people in India support Israel because Israel supported India during the Pakistan wars between India and Pakistan. Israel was the only country that supported India. So everybody supports them back because they're like, oh, they gave us money and they supported us, so we'll support them back. To me, it made no sense. It was like, you were under colonial rule for 200 years. The most famous guy from India was Mahatma Gandhi. He was fighting for freedom. You think he would be looking at all of you right now and being proud of you for also supporting another colonial empire, which took over from another colonial empire?
Yeah.
Right? The British handed over stuff that wasn't theirs to another person, and they just left. And I was like, this makes no sense. I have to do, what Mahatma Gandhi did back then. Not the way he did it. But at least I could do it through comedy. You have to fight colonization. It's just normal. And the fact that a lot of Indians are not doing it is mind-boggling for me.
Yeah, you must have seen like all the kind of memes about the Indians that support Israel. Mm-hmm. And it kind of seems one-sided, I have to be honest, the kind of the relationship there.
Yeah.
I'm just, like you said, India was colonized.
Mm-hmm.
And they have... It's not like it was 5,000 years ago. It was, it ended in 1947, 1948, right?
Same time.
Yeah. And so for a people to have it within living memory for some, and yet to support the colonization of another people, how does that happen?
It's right now because India is under a nationalist government, which is very Hindu-centric. I'm not even in touch with a lot of what's going on in India, but I know this much, that the Modi government is very nationalistic. It's called Hindutva, I think. It's like about the making India a Hindu country. And they don't want to have the Muslims there anymore. So They kind of do on a smaller scale what Israel is doing in Palestine. And the Kashmir issue has been there for a really long time. And the politicians in India have been using Kashmir as a dividing mechanism to basically rule India. Okay, to make people like, oh, if you don't do this, Pakistan will take Kashmir. They bring it up every single time.
It's like with the Arabs, actually. The Arabs say, if you don't do this, Israel, we can't fight Israel.
Exactly, yeah. And the same thing, that's what Israel does. Like, it tells America, if you don't support us, the Middle East will belong to Russia and China. Right? Everybody's doing that. And so that's what's happening in India. Now, it's since the last few years that Modi has been in power, he's been making people like really focused on that Hindu nationalism. And people are blindly just following it now.
Yeah, but India's been over the years, such a tapestry of different ideas and I mean, like the North Indian is not the same as the South Indian.
Yeah.
And even their belief systems might be slightly different as well. And yet they're trying to, in a way, kind of supplant the indigenous way of living and way of seeing things with a European Western way of seeing things, saying, okay, we're one nation, and these people who have different ideas, then actually they're not part of our nation.
Exactly. It's very weird because India is very special because of what you just said, because of the diversity, of so many different cultures, different languages. We have like 25 languages in India, and we have people from so many different kind of ethnic backgrounds within India and different geographical regions and stuff. And still, it's like a really good country to go to. And it's amazing to live there. It's really cool. But in a way, it has a very strong parallel to what's happening in Israel and Palestine right now, because we have the same thing. India was invaded by the Mughal Empire, by Arabs, and they had
the Mughals were Central Asian, I think, remnants from the Mongols.
Mongols?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably you're right. Yeah. So we had the whole Muslim rule in India for a really long time. And they go back to the same thing. Like Israel says 3,500 years ago, we were here first. That's what India is doing now. It's like we were here before the Mughal rule came to India, before we were invaded by the Muslims and the Arabs or whatever. We were here first, Hindus, so we want it back. So when they see like an old, like the temple, like the mosque in Palestine is built on top of King Solomon's temple.
So they say.
Something like that, right? That's the maybe not right.
That's the claim that they make.
Yeah. The same thing happened in India. A masjid is built on top of an old Hindu temple. So they say. And they broke down the mosque and they built a temple on top of it again. And they took it back. And all that same kind of rhetoric that's going on in Palestine is going on in India.
So I guess they're using the Israeli method of doing things to kind of achieve their aims in India.
And right now there are some politicians in the government, some news anchors and stuff who are like, hey, we should do what Israel is doing in Gaza. We should do that in Kashmir.
Wow.
So
that's very bleak.
Yeah, it's very bleak. And I know I shouldn't be talking so much about what's going on in India because I don't live there. I haven't been there in many years. I only know from a little bit from my friends and from what I see on the news and stuff. But now I know a lot more about Palestine and Israel and what's going on in this.
I mean, the parallels are, they're so clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're in Luxembourg now, right? Generally speaking. How's it been to, or how's the reaction been from the general public of Luxembourg to what's going on?
It's a small country, first of all. It's like 500,000 people, 500,000. So
it's not even London.
It's very small. Yeah. So whatever you do, it's going to be on a very small scale. And then the proportion of people who support Palestine or Israel or do anything is going to be an even smaller portion. So you don't really feel it. It's only when I travel to different cities doing shows, then I really feel like, oh, okay, there's so much happening around the world for this movement. But it's nice. In Luxembourg, it's a good place, quiet place to actually experiment with stuff and to come up with content and to do everything that I'm doing right now and then take it around everywhere else.
How long have you been doing comedy though, just before you started?
8-9 years.
And was it like, has it always been a dream of yours, or just kind of stumble into it.
Yeah, stumbled into it. I was doing public speaking for a few years, like on my own, and then somebody invited me to go to a open mic, a comedy open mic, and this is kind of the story for a lot of comedians. They go to an open mic, they see another comedian doing some stuff, usually badly, and then they go like, I could do this.
Okay.
That's how everybody pretty much starts. They go like, this shit, I could also do this easy. Yeah. So the next week I went and I said, could I do 5 minutes? And then I tried and it was good. And I was like, all right, I'm in. So kept going from there.
Do you have like a method to preparing your sets and whatnot?
In the beginning, it was pretty simple. Like the first 5 years, I was just talking about stories from my life. And I'm going to be doing a few of those tonight at the show. But it's very easy to talk about yourself because you know the material and people can relate to it because you're talking about yourself, you're making fun of yourself and other people. And there's been a few interesting stories in my life. So it was very easy to create the material. The first 1.5 hours of material was just easy for me. And then started to experiment with other forms of comedy. And then when this whole thing with Palestine is just completely new. So I'm just, because it's observational comedy in a way. You're talking about historical things, but you're also talking about commentary on how people are reacting to it, the backlash, all kinds of things. And this is all completely new. So for me, it's like still learning how to do this stuff. So I'm experimenting on stage. Every time I go to a new city and do a show, it's a new experiment.
Like we've said right at the beginning, like it's quite a heavy topic. What's going on? I mean, the amount of the amount of destruction and devastation.
Yeah.
And it must be a little bit kind of a challenge to straddle that line of not taking it too far and still. I mean, it's making it a little bit light, but
Yeah.
How's that like for you?
It is incredibly tough. It is, and all the other comedians that I speak to as well. First of all, a lot of comedians don't want to get into it because it's such a heavy topic, and they don't want to get pigeonholed into. They don't want any backlash. First of all, from anybody. The second thing is they don't want to get known as a guy who just does those kind of jokes. But also, it's not easy to make it funny, this material. And you can only do it in front of certain kind of audiences. So that's been a big, big challenge because writing jokes. So I started off by doing these videos online on Instagram and TikTok, just commenting on what other people are doing. There's no laugh track behind me, nothing. It's just funny in my head. And I'm doing it and I'm like, all right, let me go on a stage and try this out. And nobody laughs because it's such a serious topic. So there's been a whole, like I've tried to be very scientific about how to make the entire show feel funny to people. So I add my own stories to it and I experiment with different kind of things in there with the jokes and punchlines. But there are times when nothing is funny. And you just talk about the issue because it needs to be talked about, and then you move on to the funny stuff.
Yeah, it reminded me of the that show that Dave Chappelle did after George Floyd. It wasn't funny. It was just he had to just let it out, and sometimes you just.
That's one of the things. When I saw the reaction of the audience at the first show, I was like, these people need an outlet as much as I need an outlet. And I was like, I'll just go to the show. And it will be also a way for them to let off steam, for them to laugh, for them to shout Free Palestine, for them to just be out. Meeting other people, like-minded people in the audience is already a big step for them. So I'm like, if this is going to help some people, I'll just keep doing it. And it was, a lot of people keep telling me that I receive hundreds of messages every day. I don't read them. Because it's one of those things, you get addicted to your phone, right?
Yeah.
I'm already making content on it so much. I'm spending hours on it. If I spend another few hours looking at the comments and the messages, I'm just,
Yeah, and if you reply to them, you'll never be.
Yeah, so I'm like, I just have to, in my mind, I just have to separate the things. I'm like, I saw these horrible videos this morning. I shouted, fuck Israel 10 times. And then I removed it from my mind. All right, now let's write some jokes and go and focus on the show. So yeah.
Did you receive any backlash? Well, did you receive any backlash during any of your sets?
Not at the shows.
No, the shows.
Not at the shows, no.
But career-wise, or
No, I'm not famous enough, so that's a good thing. It's the thing, you can't get cancelled if you're not famous, so it's not bad. So I was like, oh, I can do whatever I want now. What's the worst that will happen? I'll not get that Netflix deal that I don't have.
Yeah, fair enough.
No big deal.
Yeah, there's because a lot of comedians, they've suffered some sort of backlash when they start talking about it. Actually, recently there was some sort of campaign against a TikTok personality as well. People trying to get her cancelled. I forget her name.
I don't know. I think that you can get cancelled online because TikTok and Instagram can close your account. But I don't think that you can get cancelled in real life, because if you're a comedian, you can go out and do shows. There will be places that will not book you, like it's happening to me. In real life, it's happening that a few shows have been cancelled by the venues without telling me. They just cancelled it, said, oh, sorry, we don't have that date free anymore.
Do you think that's from the venues themselves or pressure on the venues?
They won't tell me. So, but a lot of the venues themselves have refused to book me, because I call up people and I go like, hey, can I have your venue on a Thursday? It looks like it's free. He's like, oh, it's free. And I was like, okay, it's a Palestine show. They're like, nope.
Immediately.
So I've had that in many cities in Germany.
Yeah, Germany's a tough one.
Yeah, they're just like, no, we don't want that. We have a lot of Israeli audience. I'm like, how many do you have?
Yeah, it's.
They just don't want to be involved in it. That's the whole.
I don't know. The Germans, they've considering their history, they seem to be, every time they're on the wrong side of history.
It's like they cheated on their wife, and now it's like I have to do everything for her because I cheated on her first.
Yeah, something like that. Or they're just.
Oh, they're going completely Nazi on the other side.
Yeah. They're even arresting Jewish protesters. The amount of violence I've seen against protesters in Germany is crazy.
Yeah. Every time I go to Germany to do a show, my family's like, be careful. But so far, it's been good. The audiences again in Germany are amazing. They're coming up, and I remember walking to Frankfurt and there were people standing outside the venue because I was like 5 minutes late. I'm still an hour early, but they were more early than me because they're Germans.
Yeah.
But they were just waiting outside like, hey, Sundeep. I was like, oh, shit, okay. That's when I first realized, like, okay, this thing is gaining a lot of traction. Yeah.
Do you do all your sets in English?
Yeah.
Okay. I met a German on holiday somewhere in Southeast Asia, and very supportive of the Palestinian cause. I think maybe it's like there's a disconnect between the people and the governments everywhere you go, and it's clear in Europe, it's in the Arab world, very much so.
Yeah, the problem is also that the more logical, calm people who are okay with diversity and all kinds of these differences and stuff, they're usually the quiet people. They're not the ones who will go on the internet and yell at other people. Those are the maniacs. Yeah, unfortunately, those are the people who will be the most vocal on the internet and shout you down for saying anything. There are lots and lots of people I meet now from, my kids go to school in Luxembourg, and I meet the parents from the school. I don't know any of their names, but every once in a while they'll just be like, hey, thank you very much for doing what you're doing. And I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, Palestine stuff. I'm like, oh, they're like, I watch every single one of your videos. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this. And it's just, they're watching it on the quiet, and they're not saying anything. They're not vocal about it. That's the big difference, I think.
Have you had any interesting interactions with Zionists online?
Oh, thousands. Thousands. First of all, of course, there's the... it started with people like, we'll post your address online.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, go ahead, do it. What? And then of course, we'll find you, we'll get you, all that shit. I was like, I started ignoring all this.
Death threats.
Yeah, but I think they're death threats if you take them seriously. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'll dive on and be like, oh, that was serious. Oh, he wasn't kidding. But I'm like, it's easy to say I'm going to kill you, you know? It's not that easy to just go out and do it.
Yeah.
So I just ignored this. So now that's when I stopped looking at my DMs and all those things. Like, I'm just, if it's on the comments that everybody can see, I'm good with that because that's in public. And then those are the ones that I reply to as well. That's how I came up with all the content for the show, by the way. Because I was like, okay, I've got 5 jokes. I've done those 5. How do I come up with an hour? And those videos that were posted online, people started commenting at them. And that's where I was like, okay, oh, you guys think this? And I would reply to them. Somebody would be like, oh, you know, because this whole thing is Israel is ours 3,500 years ago. I was like, what does that mean? So I went and looked it up. And that's how I started coming up with the jokes from the comments. I was like, oh, you think your problem is that you just want to exist. That's why people are trying to kill you, because you're trying to exist. I was like, oh, great. So let me find out and comment on that. And every single comment, I would make another video about it. And that's how I started getting ideas for the content.
So the comments kind of inspired you to go and do your research.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the comments would be like, did you know what happened in 1984 on January 23rd at 8 a.m.? I'm like, what happened? I'll go and Wikipedia it. And I would see the whole thing. And then you can see how the Israelis are trying to hack Wikipedia as well, which is a completely new thing for me. I was like, wow, okay, you can just go in and change whatever you want. And they've got now bots and courses. They've got online courses and actual seminars where they teach other Jewish people to go and make changes on Wikipedia in Israel. So I started learning about all of that stuff and doing more research. I would find out more things. I was like, okay, cool, easy. Content was easy then.
And on Wikipedia, previously it was the page about the Gaza genocide was called the Accusations of Genocide in Gaza, and that changed to just the Gaza genocide. And when that happened, they went crazy. They lost it. They lost their minds. Any attempt at saying the truth, and they lose their mind. Any attempt at contextualizing and talking about the fact that this only happens because you've come and you've stolen these people's land. Yeah.
That's called defamation by those guys. That's why they have the ADL, right? The Anti-Defamation League. These guys are like, oh, the next war is going to be online. So they're training people to make sure that the propaganda online reflects all the billions of dollars that they're getting from the US.
Did you, by any chance, get on that list of nominations for Anti-Semite of the Year? Were you on that list or
no? Like I said, I'm not famous enough. Maybe one day I'll make it.
You should have been. You get my vote. Speaking of what the ADL have said, they said that it's no longer a right and left issue; it's a young and old issue. Do you agree with that statement?
That's how it started because of the universities, right? All the young people, they didn't have this baggage of history that we learned when we had no internet. We had whatever the news was telling us. We were like, that's got to be true. It's on BBC, you know? That was how all our parents and us, we learned stuff. Now we see how full of shit these news channels are. We're like, let me do my own research. And all these kids in universities went to their libraries and they started looking up stuff because those universities, even I found a lot of amazing stuff on there. They have archives of actual newspaper clippings from 100 years ago, and they're all in all of those amazing, like in Harvard and stuff, Princeton. And so all these students went and started looking up at all that. That's where all the college protests started, because they were like, yeah, it makes no sense what Israel is doing, and they're committing a genocide. And all the older people who grew up with the propaganda, they were like, Israel has to be protected. So it became an old versus new issue, and then it got much worse because of TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah,
all the young people were on TikTok, and they were all talking about the same thing, and the older guys were not on TikTok. So that and I don't know if it's still the case, the old new thing, because now you see a lot more older people in all the protests, not so many young people.
I mean, there's always been a large amount of different kinds of types of people that come to these protests. In London, obviously, we had the Million Man march. I think it was in I forgot. I was it 2023 or 2024.
Okay.
But it's so difficult to lie about it now. That's why the Hasbara's gotten so. But it used to be 10, 15 years ago. You'd see what they'd come up with, and it was, you'd kind of be able to. You see how they were quite sneaky, and they were pretty good in the way they told their lies. And today it's just they can't. They've lost it because of how atrocious the genocide is.
Yeah, it is. At the same time, it's like whatever they do, it's not making any difference. Like they are being accused of killing 15 paramedics and burying them with their ambulances in the mud. The United States is like, yeah, it was Hamas. Everybody's like, yes. I think this morning or yesterday, the United States made a statement saying all of this is on Hamas. Okay, so how much worse? I saw a meme this morning saying there could be a video of Netanyahu just eating a baby live on the internet, on a video on TikTok, just live, and being like, oh, it's amazing. And people will still be like, okay. How much worse does it need to get for these big countries like UK as well, and the EU and the US to really do something about it?
I don't think you can appeal to their humanity. I think that ship has sailed.
Okay, we're gonna go down on a bleak note then.
Not in terms of, not in terms of we can't succeed, but rather we need to look at different strategies.
Yeah, I think it's also about just all of us speaking out at the same time. Last year, just making enough of a noise that it's all recorded in history for the future, because these guys will do as bad as they can, right? Israel. It should, every single thing has got to be recorded in history for the future, so people can look back and go like, this is what happened. Whether we can stop it now or not it's the hope that we can all really make an impact and make our government stop it. Otherwise, it's really important to just make noise now. Put it out there. Call out every single bullshit thing that you're seeing. I wish there were more comedians who would be out there talking about this issue, because there are very few ways of getting a message across like comedy. It's one of the best ways to get a message across. You can joke about pretty much anything, but everybody watches a comedian. You wake up in the morning and you look at your Instagram and TikTok, and it's just people dying. And after 10 videos, you're like, I can't watch this anymore. I'm going to put away my phone. I see this from a lot of people. But if it's a funny guy talking about the same thing, they can watch it. They can listen to the topic, what's happening in the world, and this guy making fun of it or making a point at the end of a joke. So I think it's very important that hopefully a lot more comedians can start talking about it. I try to get all the people in Luxembourg to also start talking about it, but it's not that easy.
On that note, you've got a show to get to.
I've got it.
So we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And I hope you come back to London so we can do another one of these.
Absolutely. It all depends on how the show goes tonight. I hope it goes well, and then I can... Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, brilliant.